this isn't book related, but it's my account. I can do what I want. I don't know why I saw this, but the other day I saw an old video show up from Sharma, who I really, really like. I really admire the things she has to say, and I often go searching through her list of videos. And this video in particular was about a year ago. She talked about how her parents' immigrant experience really connected her so closely, bonds her so closely with her family, that she will put up with things that maybe some other people wouldn't put up with from their parents, because the immigrant experience is so unique and such a lonely and bonding experience between those who go through it together. And it really triggered something for me, because I am also the daughter of an immigrant. Just my father, not both my parents. My mother is white as Wonder Bread, but my father is from Iran. He's born in Iran, and he came to this country when he was 18 because his parents sent him because they didn't want him drafted into the army there. This was under the Ayatollah, and if you know anything about Iranian history, it was, Iran has often had some terrible things that happened there, but at the time, they were being drafted into horrible wars. And so they sent their 18-year-old son off to America to live a better life where he wasn't automatically drafted. And then one by one, they sent their other kids to live with him. And my father had to be a caretaker for his siblings at a very young age. So his youngest sister was 13 at the time that she was sent over. And he had a brother that was, like 2 or 3 years younger than him. He had a sister that was 1 year younger than him. So he had all these siblings that were teenagers, and my mother was, they had me. I was a little baby, and here's my young father. Because they had me when they were 20s. They were young parents. Opposite, different, in contrast to Nisha's experience, which I can't duet or stitch with her video, otherwise I would, but I do recommend that you go and you look for her, and that's why I'm going to tag her in this. In contrast to her experience about that immigrant experience, bringing them closer together, my father's immigrant experience actually became very distancing for me. It was a barrier because, the sort of landscape that my father left was one where neighbors were turning in each other for crimes that they didn't commit. It was very witch hunty. They would have neighbors that they were there one day, and then the next day they would be disappeared. And so my father learned at a very young age to be very private and to be very wary of anybody. So that meant that all the time that I was growing up with him, I would ask him simple questions like, when's grandma's birthday? And he would be like, why do you want to know? Why are you asking me that? And he very specifically did not want to teach me about the culture. He didn't want to teach me the language. He did not speak Farsi around me. Actually my first word was a Farsi word, but as I grew older, he kind of kept that. He withheld that from me, and really set apart his life in America from his life in Iran. And all through the years and through my life, I have not had a great relationship with him. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was very private and alone in his immigration experience, compared to the way that Nisha's family is shared. They shared letters, and they shared so much of the experience with their children, and I really admire that. And I also, my experience really doesn't have anything to do with her experience, except for that it had me thinking about how there is a special sort of loneliness, a special sort of otherness that comes from an immigrant child who is cut off from the culture that their parent is withholding from them. I actually wrote a little bit about it in my book, Man in Charge. The character in that is a half Persian woman who has disconnected from her father, and she does discuss very briefly about how that does make you kind of feel in this little limbo. So I have experienced sometimes in my life some racism, particularly from I passed very much as a white person, but my maiden name which I still use on my driver's license, is a Persian name, and I'm frequently, particularly right after 9/11, I faced a lot of scrutiny because of it. But I have not experienced it in the same ways that I witnessed my family experience it, and so it's this like little bubble of disconnect where I feel not quite, and never felt quite like the people that I grew up with, particularly because I grew up in northern Utah, where there was just floods of, you know, white people, with completely white culture, and also don't really feel like I belong to this Iranian culture, or that I even belong to this Iranian immigrant culture, because I will sometimes come across other children of Iranian immigrants, and we will connect, and I'll be like, hey, yeah, happy Nowruz, and then they will try to say something to me in Farsi, and I'll be like, I have no idea what you're saying, I can count to 10, that's all I can do. So I just wanted to remark this about how the fact that immigrant parents and the experience that immigrant parent has, and the culture that they come from, because Iran is a very different culture than India, that experience, an experience that those people bring forth to this country when they have children, really, I think, can reflect and tie into what sort of relationship families have going forward. Any other children of immigrants have any comments? Interested in hearing your stories.